Hey, welcome to another video. I'm actually doing a few things differently right now. Usually you'll see me just sharing a screen and things like that, but I've decided that no, I think you need to make YouTube more interesting. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So in today's topic, I'm actually want to talk about video streaming and live streaming. The thing is that video streaming and live streaming or just live on air has been around for such a long time. I mean, you're talking about sports, you're talking about cricket, tennis, soccer, football. You're talking about all these different sports that have been aired live on live television, of course, for like several years. And then you've got live news. Live has been around for a really long time. Now, the thing is that what is the fascination with live streaming and video streaming that's been happening over the last 5 to 10 years? Well, I just think that social media really opened it up, right? So you've got platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and the list goes on. And all these platforms opened it up to allow people to live stream, right? So now everyone was live streaming and everyone was using this protocol called RTMP. And RTMP is great, but it's pretty old, right? It's slow, it's sluggish, it's old. But now new protocols have been coming around, such as SRT and WebRTC and bonding encoders such as SRT-LA and LiveView and so on and so forth. But this is all great stuff, man. This is actually building the community. It's actually building it up. But now I wanted to talk about something that I've been obsessed about for a long time, and something that can actually help businesses grow. And that is live streaming for sure. Live streaming can actually help businesses grow to a different level. Cafes, restaurants, bars, performance areas. Live streaming really works in all these sort of situations. But actually, I'm going to take it a step forward and I'm going to talk about 24/7 live streaming. Streaming 24/7 to like multiple platforms at the same time will really help businesses grow. Now we're talking about, when you want to live stream, but you want to live stream 24/7 to multiple platforms, and you want to have music in the background, so you want to have a radio station playing as well. So not just a music playlist, but like a proper radio station that we can also build using Docker and on Raspberry Pis, for example. So we can actually have a radio station playing some music or even some live content, and then we can actually have cameras capturing a certain scenario where that streams 24/7 to multiple platforms. But then we can take it further step over there and actually have people actually joining and interacting on your live stream. So you can actually have a room where people can join in virtually and they can actually be on your stream 24/7 streaming to multiple platforms. So that's another scene that can be built. Plus, talking about softwares like Video.Ninja and Social Stream Ninja. Now we're talking about interaction. Social Stream Ninja brings about chat interaction, which we're definitely going to actually build that in. And on top of that, we can have something called StreamerBot, which takes live streaming to a different level. So this is what I wanted to build. I've always had this fascination about 24/7 streaming. And I'm actually going to go ahead and build a system that allows me to stream 24/7. This is going to be a model for everyone that wants to use it. Anyone that wants to go further can contact me, can help them out. I can build that system for them. But this is a 24/7 live streaming system that I'm going to build using low cost equipment, number one, and equipment that doesn't take on too much power. So you can actually keep it running in your house, in your office, 24/7. So let's dive right into it. Let's get into it. Alright, I'll see you guys at the rest of the video. Awesome. Okay, so now for this 24/7 streaming system that also includes a radio station, the three devices that I'll be using is the first one is an Orange Pi 5 Plus. This is a 16 GB RAM version. This essentially is going to be running Azuracast along with Owncast. The next device that I'll be using is essentially a Windows Mini PC. Now this is an N100 CPU PC with 16 gigs of RAM. It is extremely low powered and I'll be using this to run OBS Studio. And the last device that I'll be using is this encoder. Essentially, this is a Linkpi ENC version 2. This encoder is actually going to be doing the streaming to the multiple platforms that I will be streaming to. Besides this, I will be using a cloud server as well, which is an Oracle server. It is 1 GB RAM and 1 CPU core cloud server, and that's what I'll be using to run a restreaming platform that I will demonstrate in the rest of this video.
Okay, so now I'd like to go through some of the components that are going to make up this always-on live stream system. So like I showed you earlier, I did actually go through a couple of the hardware devices, which was the Orange Pi 5 Plus, the N100 mini PC, and the Linkpi ENC version 2 video encoder. Now just to go through a bit more of the components, the Orange Pi 5 Plus is a ARM-based single board computer. It is going to be running Docker on Ubuntu 22.04. Now, there are going to be two Docker images that I'm going to be running on the Orange Pi 5 Plus. One of them is Azuracast, which is a web radio station that's going to be feeding the music for the actual 24/7 stream. The second Docker container is called Owncast, and Owncast is a self-deployed live streaming server, which is also going to be running Livestream, which I will actually demonstrate as well. So I just wanted to cover that the Orange Pi 5 Plus are going to be running these two containers at the minimum. Moving on to the next device is the N100 mini PC. Now this is a Intel N100 which has 4 CPU cores and 16 gigs of RAM. The main purpose of running this one is to run OBS Studio. OBS Studio does work on Linux and does work on Mac. However, it is not really built for the ARM processor, and that's why I'm going to avoid running OBS on the Orange Pi 5 Plus. I'd rather run it on a separate device with the N100. Now, the OBS Studio is going to act as a video switcher. I'm not going to stream from it because I'm going to leave that. I don't want to bottleneck the N100 mini PC. Now, the plan is that from OBS Studio, we're going to have the video pipe into the Linkpi ENC1 video encoder. Now, this is a powerful video encoder that can actually take the output from OBS and stream it to multiple platforms. And that's what we're going to be using to actually do the streaming. Okay, so now this is a video that's not been rehearsed. I'm going to be building this all right now, and you guys can follow through the steps. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the next step that we're going to actually do is work with the Orange Pi 5 Plus. So what I need to really do is to install Ubuntu 22.04 on the Orange Pi 5 Plus NVMe drive. I already actually have it on an SD card. Once we actually go ahead and do that, we can install Azuracast and Owncast. So let's start setting up the Orange Pi 5 Plus. So what I've actually done so far is I already have done an RDP session into my Orange Pi 5 Plus that's currently running an SD card, but it's running Ubuntu 22.04. So now in order to go ahead and transfer this operating system onto the NVMe drive, there are a few steps that I do need to take. And there is an actual documentation file that does provide the steps. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so here are the steps based on Joshua Reek's Ubuntu image. So what we actually really do need to do is first install the bootloader with SATA support to the SPI flash, or it could actually be the MTD. I believe it's the MTD. So I'm actually going to follow this command right here. And after that, we can go ahead and install command on the NVMe. So hopefully this will work. I do have some stuff on this NVMe from before, but we're going to give it a try. So I'll go to my command prompt, open up a new terminal. prior to doing that, I'm going to do a sudo apt update. I'm going to let the actual software complete its updates and upgrades prior to doing that. Interesting. So I've run a update and I ran an upgrade. Now when I did run an upgrade, as you can see, I came up with a few errors. But I'm actually not going to let these errors stop our process of going forward. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at the commands that we need to actually run to get this installed on the NVMe drive. So the first thing to do is to go ahead and do a SPI flash. And so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's the first step. So now we flash the SPI, and I believe that this command will completely delete everything on my NVMe and do an installation. Let's try. Now I'm not entirely sure if the NVMe it needs to be completely empty, or does it clear out my NVMe drive. I'm not entirely certain, but we'll find out. Okay, so it looks like that has worked now. And so what we actually do need to do is have a look at the installation now on the NVMe. So I will go ahead and shut down the Orange Pi 5 Plus and remove the SD card and check if it runs on the NVMe drive. And I will be right back with you. Okay, so I've got some good news. I've actually managed to go ahead and remove the SD card and boot completely from the SSD drive. Now this Ubuntu instance on the Orange Pi 5 Plus is actually booted directly from the SSD. So now the next step I'm going to be doing is configuring this environment, but I'm going to be installing Docker. That's the next thing I'd really like to do. So let's go ahead and install Docker on this system. And now in order to install Docker, there are a few commands that we're going to run. So before I do anything, I'm going to go to the terminal and I'm going to add this to my favorites. So there we go. We've added it to our favorites because we're definitely going to be using the terminal a fair bit. Okay, so now in order to set up Docker using the apt repository, it requires me to run a few commands. Let's go ahead and run this. And I'll just let this go ahead and install. Okay, and now I will go ahead and install the latest version of Docker. And I'll just wait for this to install now. And now we're going to check our Docker installation by running the Hello World Docker container. Excellent. So now we do know that our Docker has installed correctly. Now the next step I'm actually going to go ahead and do is install Azuracast. So in order to install Azuracast, we want to be in root. So we're going to go ahead and go to root. The step after that is I'm going to make a directory called Azuracast. And I'm going to cd into that directory. Great, so now I've actually cd'd into Azuracast. As we can see, the directory is currently empty. Now the next set of commands are going to download our Docker utility script and set it to executable and then run the Docker installation process for Azuracast. So I'll go ahead and copy paste that one right here. And all the commands are going to be in the description of the video. Now it's asking me that my current release selection is rolling release. Do I want to switch to stable release? I do recommend switching to the stable release of Azuracast because it is definitely more stable and I have heard of some issues with the rolling release. So I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to yes, automatically update it. And I'm going to go ahead and run that command again. I don't want to change to rolling release. And let's go ahead and try and install Azuracast. Now this could take some time, so I will be right back once this installs. Okay, so now we reached the stage where we do need to select the language. So I'm going to go ahead and select the first language, which is English. Now do I want to customize the ports? So the main ports that Azuracast uses is port 80, 443, and the SFTP port is 2022. Besides the rest of these ports, do I want to customize the ports? No, I don't. Custom code plugins? Yes, I would like to do that. And I would go ahead and say enable web-based Docker images as well. Now it'll go ahead and pull the entire system and do the installation for me. Excellent. So now we do have our container of Azuracast that is already running. Now we do want to complete the setup, so I'm going to visit this URL. Well, not quite, because this is the public IP address. However, I will not be visiting that URL. I will go to my local URL. So I'm going to actually go ahead and find that one. Okay, so as you can see, I've actually put in my local IP address, which is 192.168.1.111, and it's actually brought me to the registration for Azuracast. So I'm actually going to go ahead and register on this instance. Excellent. So now that I've actually registered, I am in the Azuracast instance. and I'm going to create a new radio station. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to give the radio station a name. I'm going to select a time zone for now. Since I'm based in Sydney, I'm going to go ahead and select Sydney as my time zone. And I'm going to enable on-demand streaming, and I'm going to save that. Now, there are a few other things that I do want to end up doing, but I do have a URL as well, but I do need to do the Cloudflare part of it before I go ahead and put the URL in there. So for now, I'm going to just go ahead and continue. I'm going to go ahead and enable this one for high performance now playing updates. I'm going to save. So for now, the base URL will be my IP address. That should work. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so we do have the IP address added in there, and we have a station. Now we can go to the manage of the station and reload the configuration. And as you can see, currently the station is offline, but it has been started. I am going to go ahead and start the Auto DJ service. Well, we can't start the Auto DJ service because we don't have any music. So now we can go to media and we can go to music files, and now this is where we can upload our music for Azuracast. Now there are a few ways to actually go ahead and do this. We can copy all our music. If we've got our music on a hard drive, we can actually go ahead and copy it directly onto the system and then go ahead and use a certain commands to map that drive directly to Azuracast. But in my case, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it the traditional way. So I will actually now go ahead and connect a external hard drive that I have to my host computer and start uploading music. Now I did run into a few problems while trying to access the external hard drive from Azuracast. So there is another way to do this. What I'm actually going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and copy all my files directly onto my Ubuntu server. And once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and map the entire drive onto the Ubuntu server. So these were all my music files that I'm going to access. And I'm going to go ahead and just select all. And I'm going to just copy. I'm going to go to the music folder and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to go ahead and just skip these. And hopefully this is an easy way to copy all the files. So now what I'm really doing is I'm going ahead and copying all the files that I have on my external hard drive directly to the Ubuntu instance right here, which is obviously on an Orange Pi 5 Plus. So once all these files are actually copied, then I'm going to go ahead and map all these files to my Azuracast instance. Okay, so now that I've got a lot of my music already on my instance, so we can actually see this is my music folder where I've got a lot of music already loaded up. Now the tricky part is when I do actually go to my instance right here, you will see that if I go to manage my radio station, the station is offline at the moment, and if I do go to media and music files, there's nothing in here. Even though this is my instance and I have all this music, I still don't have anything in here. So what I actually need to do is map my folders so all my music will show up right here. So how do we do that? Now the trick is in Azuracast mounting a directory into a station. So this is exactly what we need to do. So in order to mount it, this is what we need to do. So the first thing that we need to do is go to the actual directory and create a file name called docker compose override YAML. And once I actually go ahead and do that, I can go ahead and paste this and mount my folder into the station. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to cd into the directory. I'm going to go ls. Now at the moment, as you can see, and I'm going to zoom in a bit here. Now as you can see, we don't actually have an override YAML file. So I'm going to go sudo nano, and I'm going to create a new file called docker compose override YAML. And I will paste this information right over here. Now, what we need is we need to put our station name, and we do need to put the path on the host computer. So let's go back to our Azuracast and check our profile. Now, what is our station name? We do need to find that out. Our station is called Merge Lab. So I'm going to copy the name of that station, and I'm going to go back to my command prompt. And I'm going to enter the station name, and now I need to enter the path to where all the music lies. So we'll go back to our folder, and I'll go to properties, and this should give me the path. So the path is home, merge lab, and music. So that should be the path. And we will double check that. So if we go and paste in that path, that should be it right there. And I'm going to go ahead and Control X, Y, and I'm going to save that. And now the trick is that once we've actually done that, we do need to turn the Docker off and then turn it back on again. So when we actually go ahead and do that, I'm going to go ahead and do sudo and a docker compose down. In fact, I don't think I need the sudo there. Okay, so a docker compose command is not working. I may do a sudo apt install docker compose. And now, in order for our container to see that file, permission denied. Maybe I need a sudo. Maybe a sudo su might help. Okay, so now we've actually stopped the Docker container, and now in order for the Docker container to, for the Azuracast Docker container to actually to access the override file, I'm going to go ahead and hit docker compose up -d, and this will start Azuracast updater and the actual instance up again. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so now we've gone ahead and it has started the instance again. And if I refresh this, it should ask me to log in, which is correct. And I'm going to sign in. And there we go. Now we're back in here. And I'm going to go ahead and manage my station. And if I've done it correctly, yes, and I have. And now all my files are being mapped to my station. I don't know how long this will actually take, but it shouldn't take very long at all. Okay, so while we wait for the music to start loading, what we do want to do is click on playlists. Now we do have a playlist called default, right? So I'm going to actually go ahead and edit this playlist. And we want to make it random. And just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and use this playlist as default. In fact, I will change the name to playlist 1. So playlist 1, and I'm going to save those changes. And so now we've got a playlist called playlist 1, and I'm going to go back to my media and my music files. And right here, I'm going to select all. So what I'm going to do, just as a test, I'm going to go ahead and select all my music. And that should be every single thing on this system. And I'm going to go ahead and add it to playlist 1 and save. So now, as you can see, a lot of the music has been added to the playlist. And now if you go back to my profile and view my profile, it is playing the music now on my radio station. So now we do have music that's playing. And we do want to enable HLS. So if we do go to the public page, we can't listen to it here, but if I go ahead and now we can actually hear the radio station. So if you do know that that music is playing, that's great. Okay. Now we can go back to our different scene right here. Excellent. So if you do know the radio station is playing the music, and that's what we wanted. Excellent. So now we know that our radio station is actually working and it's actually playing music. Now, the next thing we really want to do is get Owncast installed on this instance. So we can go back here and we can open up a new terminal. And this would be for Owncast. I'll go ahead and zoom in right here. Excellent. So now I do have a command to actually install Owncast. So first we'll run a sudo docker pull. And so we'll pull the latest version of Owncast. Perfect. And now we can go ahead and run a command that will start the Docker container, but will also always keep it running. Excellent. So now, if we've done everything correctly, Owncast should already be running. And we should be able to access it using port 8080. Let's try that out. Excellent. So now we do have an Owncast server already installed. Now we do want to access the admin section of it. So I'm going to actually type in admin. And the password, the login is admin, and the password default is ABC123. And now as you can see, this is the admin page of our Owncast server. So now we do have Azuracast, which is our radio station that's going to play our music, which is already installed and it's already playing music. Now we do also have Owncast, which is our streaming server. Right, so we've actually gone ahead and managed to deploy these two solutions on the Orange Pi web device. Excellent. So now going back to our system right here, the next thing we really want to do is we want to be able to live stream to these systems. So let's go ahead and get that started up. Now in order to live stream, we're going to go to our next section that includes using the N100 mini PC along with OBS Studio. Radio DJ is an option, but I will leave that for a later time. But right now I'm going to go ahead and use the N100 PC and OBS Studio. Right. So now what we're going to do is, since we need to work on the N100 mini PC, I've already gone ahead and done an RDP session into my PC. This is a regular Windows PC, but I do have software such as OBS installed on it already. So as you can see, OBS is there. Now our goal at the moment is to somehow be able to get OBS running on this PC and be able to do a live stream test to our Azuracast server. And I'm actually going to go ahead and log back in to Azuracast as well. To create another remote desktop session. And now we have our Owncast right over here. So we've essentially got two RDP sessions running. This is my OBS PC. So let's take a look at this PC now. Excellent. So now you can actually see that it's loaded up the scene that I've created right over here. And we've got some Azuracast music playing as well, because I already have that link loaded up over here as well, which is excellent. And so this essentially is our little video switcher that we're going to be using for streaming. And so, however, this system will be connected, as you can see from the drawing, to an encoder. And that's what will actually do the streaming. And so what we want to also do is be able to log in into the Linkpi ENC encoder. And for that, I need to actually turn it on. So now I'm going to go ahead and try to log into my Linkpi encoder. And there we go. That is the Linkpi encoder that is going to be doing the streaming for me. Okay, excellent. So we've logged into our encoder as well. And essentially, what I'm going to be doing is sending a feed, the program feed out from here into my Linkpi encoder. Okay, great. Let's do that now. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And my Linkpi encoder should show up with an image on the HDMI as soon as I log back in. And there we go. And now our Linkpi encoder is receiving the actual feed. And now all we need to do is stream from our Linkpi encoder. And for the sake of this live stream, I'm going to go ahead and do a push. And as you can see now, we are streaming to our RTMP address, which is our Azuracast RTMP address. If you actually take a look at Azuracast, not Azuracast, Owncast, you will see that we are receiving some kind of video. Now we do want to configure the system right here. So prior to doing that, as this was just a test, I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream, go back to my server, go to video, and I'm going to go ahead and edit this video right here. Now we need to set our view correctly. This is extremely large. So I'm going to go back here. My resolution was actually set to really, really high, and I've dropped it down here. So now we should be able to see our instances a lot better. So what we're going to do here is we're going to increase this bitrate to 6000. And I'm going to, in fact, I will use video pass-through, and the resolution, we will try video pass-through. Just decreases the load on the system, but it could end up in errors, but we'll try. Now, our latency buffer, we will keep it the way it is right now. Excellent. And if I open up a new tab, this is our Owncast server that we've got right here. And I'm going to go back to my encoder once again, and I'm going to push my stream. As you can see, we're streaming now, and go back to Owncast, and we have a stream running in Owncast. So this is the process where you could actually have a system such as OBS, streaming to an Owncast server. So if we actually take this server and have a look at the server on our displays, you would actually even get the music right here. And that's exactly what I wanted to demonstrate, how that actually works. So that's it, folks. Now that you see what we did, and I'm going to recap right here. So we took our Orange Pi 5 Plus, we deployed a brand new Ubuntu image on it. We uploaded music to it. Next, we installed Azuracast and configured Azuracast. And then we also deployed Owncast, which is your own private live stream system. At the same time, I used a PC, which is an N100 PC that's running OBS, and I had my camera connected to it as well. And I had that feed into my encoder. This should really be right here. And that fed into my encoder that did the streaming to Owncast. Now we want to take it a step forward, and I did mention about having a restreaming server on Oracle. Now let's go ahead and have a look at that. Okay, so now here we are on my Oracle Restream server, and I'm going to actually go ahead and log in to my Oracle server. So this is a Restreamer, a free version of a lot of those paid platforms that are available right now. So what I want to actually do is I want to go ahead and stream the video that's currently going to Owncast to Oracle. So let's go ahead and do that. Very, very simple. I'm going to go ahead and access my encoder. And this is my address, which is an SRT address going to my Oracle server, which can be found right here. And so that's my SRT address. And when I go back to my Linkpi, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now I have a stream running to my Restream Oracle server. And there we go. Within a few moments, you will actually see my stream. So now my stream is actually on my cloud-hosted Oracle server. And now the next step would be for me to turn any of my platforms on to allow for my stream to go to any of these platforms. And I can actually continue adding more platforms to it if I wanted to. It just doesn't use much CPU at all, as you can see. So excellent. I think that's the end of this video, where I have actually gone through this entire process of building a 24/7 streaming system, which is always on and always streaming with music to multiple platforms. Thanks for watching.